you dirty potters. Long story short, I kind of mixed up the boxes when I was testing this glaze. So what I do when I do a glaze review is you see me kind of cut open the box and then I throw the box to the side. And after I throw that box to the side, I never see that box again in my entire life. It goes in the recycle immediately. Unfortunately for me, as we have seen with the Red Lotus review, I do not read the front of the boxes after I open the box. This was duly noted off of all the people in the comments below who were like, it's a 5-pound box of glaze. Why are you not reading the front? But during the video, I kept on asking if it was 5 or 10 pounds. I could have just looked at the front of the box. We now have confirmed, lore-wise, that I'm so American, I just don't read. That being said, I mixed up the boxes of the 2 new glazes from Clayscapes, Cinnabar and Black Cherry. Whenever a company sends me glazes, they usually send me a batch of them. So they'll send me like 20 pounds or 30 or 40 pounds or sometimes like 50 pounds worth of glaze. And I test them and I put all the boxes in a corner and I test them one after another. Once I run out of one glaze, I move on to the next glaze. Well, I didn't read the boxes as we just talked about. And so this entire glaze review, please keep in mind, you are in fact watching the glaze review for a glaze called Cinnabar. This is actually really irritating because I had to go over the footage and re-doctor everything to make sure that it was all good. And so everything is relabeled, but I'm not re-doctoring the audio except for this one part. You will notice that I'm gonna be like, black cherry this and black cherry that. It is Cinnabar. This glaze is Cinnabar. I just wanna let you know that, okay? I love you, Dirty Potter faces. Have a good day. Remember to click the like button before you go. I just updated the store, and I will see you, Dirty Potters, probably during the review. Bye. Hello, you Dirty Potters. How are you today? This box here was sent to us by the Clayscapes company, a company that we have been working very closely with. In fact, we've been working so closely with this company that they're getting ready to sell one of my personal glaze recipes on their website at clayscapespottery.com. If you want to buy this glaze, make sure you use the code EARTH10 at checkout to save yourself 10% off. I like Clayscapes because they sell us these powdered glazes, and I'm very pro powdered glazes because I feel like it's the gateway drug to making your own glazes sooner or later, or at least learning how to control your glazes more for consistency. Oh, is this it? Hold on. That's crazy. Guess what that says on it? That's right. They told me they were going to do this, but I didn't expect it to look so official. This is the Red Lotus glaze recipe that was bought by Clayscapes from me that I developed myself. I've spent a good 6 months to probably 9 months of last year developing a nice, good iron saturated khaki red glaze, and I got about 5 of them out of those experiments. Clayscapes noticed this and bought one of them, and so in buying them they put it together themselves, and this is the glaze Red Lotus that you should be able to buy pretty soon on their website. I'll link all of that down below. This is Coastal Blue. This is their new formula for Coastal Blue. I hear that this one doesn't run as much and has a much more stable blue, and all the combos work exactly the same as they did with the old Coastal Blue combo. So I'm excited to test this out as well. We also got a 5-pound bag of Cinnabar, which is cool. I don't know what this looks like yet. I'm gonna have to check it out. Well, we can't waste packing materials, you know? We gotta save these. We got a 5-pound bag of Black Cherry. And the last box here is a 5-pound box of Berry Blush. You know I've said this on the channel before, but I really like these powdered glazes because they give you really good control over the amount of water in your glaze, and that is a prime thing for glaze makers like myself. Plus, it's kind of the halfway point in between making your own glaze and just putting together your own glaze that gives you the experience and confidence you need to start putting together recipes at a later time anyway. So I appreciate my glazes coming in this form anyway, which is one of the reasons I really like the Clayscapes company. I think for today we're gonna put together the Black Cherry glaze, and you can tell me in the comments below what glaze you want me to put together next time. I know that as someone who likes to make their own glazes, I always harp on this issue every single time I make a glaze from powder on screen. But you see those little bits of mineral right there in the glaze? Yeah, that's right. That's why we sieve. And that's not a comment on the glaze or the glaze makers themselves. This will happen with almost any glaze that you get. The real reason why I sieve the majority of my stuff is because a lot of people who are not super experienced in making glazes will often leave huge amounts of clumps like this at the bottom of the glaze bucket because they don't get into the corners. And this is where a lot of the good color and mineral comes from that creates the glaze. So I can't really blame anyone except for myself whenever I leave all this good mineral color down there because I didn't sieve my glaze. I just mixed it around for 10 minutes. Ooh, that feels like a smooth glaze. You know what? Just for the glaze heads out there, let's test the gravity of this real quick. I think a few of you probably understand what I'm about to do right now when I say I'm about to test the gravity of this, but for those of you that don't, I'm just testing the comparison of how much minerals there is versus how much water there is using a very simple equation. But for those of you who know how to make glazes out there, you most likely are a little more excited about this. Let's get 100 mils out of that. Gravity on this is, ooh, that's a little high. 1.6 is a little bit high. Let's see here. 1.4. I got a good 1.41 from that at 100 mils, which means the gravity is around 1.4. I'll take that. That's not too bad. Gotta get a little testile for myself, you know? Nobody's gonna know. Nobody's gonna know. Just get a little testile for myself. Wait for it to dry. Dip it on the other side like this so we have a good cross section like that. Yeah, nobody's gonna know. I'll test out for myself, won't hurt nobody. Okay, and as we usually do, let's talk about what we're gonna be testing this glaze on before we actively put it in the kiln. Of course, because this is a dipping glaze, we are going to be dipping almost every single one of these testiles. There might come a day, if enough of you request it down in the comments below, that we brush this on, but this generally is not considered a brushing glaze. So we are going to be dipping all of these in this bucket here. I have a porcelain testile, a stoneware testile, and I have a redstone testile here. I also have an extra porcelain dragon bowl laying around so we can test it for texture on this one right here. And we also have a bit of a tea bowl here. Place recently commissioned me for a bunch of tea bowls, and so I've been making these kind of organic wabi-sabi-ish tea bowls. So we're gonna use one on this as well. I don't know if it's me or the glaze, but this is a smooth glaze. I mean, just as I'm working with it, it dries in a good amount of time. You ever play with those glazes that dry way too fast and it makes you a little suspicious? This dries just the amount of time I suspect it. There's a glaze that I made about 2 years ago that I really like, and it's kind of like the competitor to Lynette's Opal, because I know how many people like that. I call it Angimon, and it looks like this. This goes really well over a lot of dark glazes. And I think we can make a good little combo batch with this just to see if it'll work out. Let's just do it on the top because we do not know if this is going to run or not. But we're going to put a thick layer of it on the top so we can see how far this thing will run. Okay, and as we usually do, let's talk about what we're putting in the kiln before it goes in. This is only black cherry on a porcelain bowl. This is our most standard test style. This over here is a red stone clay body with the same glaze. So these are going to be our white and red stone clay bodies respectively. This here is my B mixed with grog test style, kind of just for me. This here is a highly texturized porcelain clay body. I only put it this far up because I want to see if it runs. This one here is a porcelain dragon scale textured bowl, just for the texture test. This one here is also a porcelain bowl with black cherry on the bottom and Dante's Angimon on the very top. I barely put any space or clearance at the very bottom right here. I mean, the difference in between this here and this here is massive when you think about it. So this is kind of our run test along with the combination test. Okay, these are our test styles for black cherry, and now let's put them in the kiln. Okay, now that everything's out of the kiln, let's take a look. This is Clayscapes Black Cherry on a porcelain bowl. This is good. This is really good, actually. The thing that surprised me about it is that it's very, very stable. I mean really stable. And that's something that you're going to see all throughout the video. Almost every single portion where I put the glaze line or where I stopped the glaze, it stayed there. It didn't run whatsoever, which is great. The really surprising thing is that later on in the video, you're going to see this kind of black cherry color verging on red, which tells me it probably is iron in the glaze. But when I take a good long look at it, I can almost think it's red. Like if you looked at it from far away, you'd be like, oh, a red bowl in oxidation. Those are rare. And then you pick it up and see it's a bit darker than you would expect a true bright red to be. Let's give it a look on the darker clay body. Now this is our red clay body test with black cherry from Clayscapes. This is pretty good. You know, I know a lot of you have watched my glaze reviews to the point where you probably know how I do things here by now, but I kind of have this checklist over to the side that says like, okay, does it match the testile that the company puts up or the little chip the company puts up? Yes, on the money. We're good. Does it look the same, if not better, as white clay as it would on red clay? Okay, check. We're good. It looks almost exactly the same as it does on white clay as it does on brown clay, with a little bit of lightness. So this is pretty standard. This is past the both white and red clay testiles. But at least at a minimum, I need the white clay bodies and the brown clay bodies to look at least like the same color. And this does pretty good. Now here's a really surprising one. Remember I did that testile just for myself? Well, this is a B mixed with grog testile. And this is really surprising because if you look at it just right, it almost looks true red. It actually almost messed this video up because in the testing, I tested this glaze next to the Red Lotus glaze that I just developed for Clayscapes, and they looked super similar. Mine is definitely brighter red and has those crystal formations that you expect from something in this glaze line, but I almost thought that this was this and this was this because they seem to be in the same family. If you look real closely, you can sort of see how I glazed it. I often get a little tester batch and I dip it this way so it touches this entire side, and then I turn it over, let it dry, and then I dip it this way. And this allows me to get 2 layers on this part, let it run a little bit, and see how it would look on 1 layer down here. So you can really see at the bottom right here what it looks like if you put a single layer, at least 1 regular dip on it. While this portion up here seems to be the thicker version of the glaze. This is a highly texturized porcelain dragon bowl here. And I wanted to get a good shot on the inside because you can see where I held my fingers and kind of pushed in the texture. So you can see it made some kind of inside texture. So these spots here, technically where there's a little bit of texture right here from the inside. And that right there will change the glaze just a little bit. Enough to see a difference. While the outside looks very nice, very smooth. I don't really see a difference here in the reaction in between the textured and non-textured surfaces. Even when I look really closely, it seems to be pretty much the same all throughout, which is great for me because consistency is key. Although I really would have enjoyed if it went down to like a deeper, darker red or maybe even some kind of orange. But these types of glazes are difficult to develop anyway, so the fact that the glaze developer got this far is impressive regardless. These types of tomato reds or deep iron saturated khaki reds, especially in cone 6 oxidation, are years and years of research and knowledge passed down or gained by yourself. So the fact that it's this consistent says a lot about whoever developed this, regardless of me wanting just like more texture. This is black cherry on a heavily textured bowl with a black underglaze underneath it. Fantastic result. Seriously, fantastic result. The black underglaze didn't seem to do anything on the inside. That right there, that's my fault. It also didn't really do anything on the outside. And I know it was a slight chance that it would do anything at all, but some glazes change massively, especially the lighter ones with a black underglaze or any underglaze for that matter underneath it. Sometimes you can see it, sometimes you can't, sometimes it changes the colors, sometimes it changes a little bit of stuff in it. This one didn't do much, which is great, but now we know we cannot see through this glaze, even though that was pretty obvious, but we had to test it. The last one we have here is black cherry mix. Is it blackberry or black? I keep on saying black cherry, but if I look on the thing that says blackberry, I'm gonna be pissed. Hold on, I'm looking it up. I went on the website. It's black cherry. It's black cherry. This one here is black cherry on a B mix with grog testile with Dante's Angimon on top. I have a couple of glazes, and most of you know that I name my glazes after Digimon, and then when I sell them to companies, I often have to rename them because Digimon are probably copywritten, and also artists won't go for Digimon names unless you're actually cool. This is good. Not my favorite. I think I could have found a better combo. But if you have a manganese dioxide based glaze out there and you put this over black cherry, I bet it would come out similar to this, because generally speaking, these glazes are kind of in families, and those families often react to each other in very predictable ways. I think this glaze combo would sell really well at something like a Renaissance fair, because this kind of looks like bone or gray matter of some sort, and I like that. I like that a lot for a specific aesthetic. I don't think the aesthetic is simple bowls, but I do think there is an aesthetic that this combo could go on. This glaze is good in the name of Earth, Wind, Fire, and pre-workout. That one, that's my element right there. And all of the testers that you've been seeing from this point have essentially all been like a darker red, really. Well, what if I told you that I went kind of Hambo on one testile and made it extra, extra thick? And this is what I got. Unfortunately, we're gonna have to go outside to see the full extent of this glaze, but otherwise, it is a phenomenal glaze. Extent of this glaze, but look, it truly is a beautiful black cherry glaze, in which I can only get by putting on a copious amount of layers on. I do truly mean that. I had to put a lot of layers on, probably about 5, to get this color. And you can see where it's birthed from. You can see right here that tomato red that we've been getting all throughout the video, essentially. Except for when I poured it in, I rolled it around real nice about 3 or 4 times and then dumped it out right about, let me see if I can find the dump point. I'd say right about there is where I dumped it. Okay, gotta go back inside where I belong. Can't be outside too long or else I'll catch the sociability. But this is great. This is what I come to expect from black cherry. Those reds are great. They're fantastic even. But that's not what I expected when I bought the glaze. This is what I expected. I'm gonna take this one and put it in a very special place where the prison guard can't find it. But again, thank you, Dirty Potters, for joining me. Remember to click all those YouTube buttons on your way out. Let me know what glaze you would like me to review next in the comments below. I'll see what I can do, and I will see you, Dirty Potters, next week.
Thank you for your patronage.